Hey, what is up, YouTube? It's Malorn here, and I'm here with another video for you guys today. Today I've got Chapter 22 of The Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan. I might do Chapter 23 if we've still got some time. Hang on, I'm flipping through to see if I can find the page for it. By the way, guys, if you wish to see Chapter 26, I I already made the video for Chapter 26, and it's currently unlisted, but if you go through, what video was it? I think it was the last video. I think it was Chapter 21. If you go to that video, and if you go into the comment section, it should, hang on, let me check. What chapter was that? That was terrible. Okay, I know. That's just perfect singing, right? Yeah. The perfect. Well, it actually uploaded it. What the heck? Yeah. So chapter 21. The link is in the form of a comment in chapter 21. I will probably put it in the description. So if you want to go ahead and check out chapter 26 and you're a little bit farther in, you can go ahead and check out that video. It's there. The link is there, at least. If you click on the link, it will take you to the video, but it is currently unlisted until I can catch up to it, and then obviously I will go ahead and upload it. I know it's a little bit confusing, but, you know, it's there. Alright. For some reason, this wants to be a pain and not magically make numbers appear in my head telling me what page it's on. That's chapter 21, the last one that I read. Got this. I can find it. I just gotta believe. That's chapter 22. Or that's chapter 23. I fail. There we go. Chapter 22. This is read by Carter. Leroy meets the Locker of Doom. I'd never gone through security with a live bird of prey before. Thought it would cause a holdup, but instead the guards moved us into a special line. They checked our paperwork. Bass smiled a lot, flirted with guards, and told them they must be working out, and they waved us through. Bass knives didn't set off the alarm, so maybe she'd stored them in the duat. The guards didn't even try to put Sadie through the x-ray machine. I was retrieving my shoes when I heard a scream from the other side of security. Bass cursed in Egyptian. We were too slow. I looked back and saw the set animal charging through the terminal, knocking passengers out of its way. Its weird rabbit ears swiveled back and forth. Foam dripped from its curved, toothy mouth, and its forked tail lashed around, looking for something to sting. "Moose!" a lady cried. A lady screamed, "Rabid moose!" Everyone started screaming, running in different directions, and blocking the set animal's path. Moose? I wondered. Bass shrugged. No telling what mortals will perceive. Now the idea will spread by power of suggestion. Sure enough, more passengers started yelling moose and running around as the set animal plowed through the lines and got tangled up in the stanchions. TSA officers surged forward, but the set animal tossed them aside like rag dolls. "Come on," Bass told me. Can't just let it hurt these people. We can't stop it." But I didn't move. I wanted to believe Horace was giving me courage, or that maybe the past few days had finally woken up some dormant bravery gene I'd inherited from my parents. But the truth was scarier. This time, nobody was making me take a stand. I wanted to do it. People were in trouble because of us. I had to fix it. I felt the same kind of instinct I felt when Sadie needed my help, like it was time for me to step up. And yes, it terrified me, but it also felt right. "Go to the gate," I told Bass. "Take Sadie. I'll meet you there." "What? Carter! Go!" I imagined opening my invisible locker. 13, 32, 33. I reached out my hand, but not for my dad's magic box. I concentrated on something I'd lost in Luxor. It had to be there. For a moment, I felt nothing. Then my hand closed around a hard leather grip, and I pulled my sword out of nowhere. Bass's eyes widened. "Impressive." "Get moving," I said. "It's my turn to run interference. You realize it'll kill you." "Thanks for the vote of confidence. Now scat." Bass took off at top speed, Sadie flapping to stay balanced on her arm. Shot rang out. I turned and saw the set animal plow into the cop who just fired at its head to no effect. The poor cop flew backward and toppled over the metal detector gate. "Hey, Moose," I screamed. The set animal locked its glowing eyes on me. "Well done," Horace said. "We'll die with honor." Shut up, I thought. I glanced behind me to make sure Bass and Sadie were out of sight. Then I approached the creature. "So you've got no name?" I asked. They couldn't think of one ugly enough? The creature snarled, stepping over the unconscious policeman. Set animal is too hard to say, I decided. I'll call you Leroy. Apparently Leroy didn't like his name. He lunged. I dodged his claws and managed to smack him in the snout with the flat of my blade, but that barely fazed him. Leroy backed up and charged again, slavering, baring his fangs. I slashed at his neck, but Leroy was too smart. He darted to the left and sank his teeth into my free arm. If it hadn't been for my makeshift leather arm guard, I would have been minus one arm. As it was, Leroy's fangs still bit clear through the leather. Red-hot pain shot at my arm. I yelled, and a primal surge of power coursed through my body. I felt myself rising off the ground, and the golden aura of the hawk warrior forming around me. The set animal's jaws were pried open so fast that it yelped and let go of my arm. I stood, now encased in a magical barrier twice my normal size, and kicked Leroy into the wall. "Good," said Horace. "Now dispatch the beast to the netherworld." "Quiet, man. I'm doing all the work." I was vaguely aware of security guards trying to regroup, yelling into their walkie-talkies and calling for help. Travelers were still screaming and running around. Heard a little girl shout, "Chicken Man, get the moose!" You know how hard it is to feel like an extreme falcon-headed combat when somebody calls you Chicken Man? Sorry. I raised my sword, which was now at the center of a 10-foot-long energy blade. Leroy shook the dust off his cone-shaped ears and came at me again. My armored form might have been powerful, but it was also clumsy and slow. Moving it around felt like moving through jello. Leroy dodged my sword strike and landed on my chest, knocking me down. He was a lot heavier than he looked. His tail and claws raked against my armor. I caught his neck in my glowing fists and tried to keep his fangs away from my face. But everywhere he drooled, my magical shield hissed and steamed. I could feel my wounded arm going numb. Alarms blared. More passengers crowded toward the checkpoint to see what was happening. I had to end this soon before I passed out from pain or more mortals got hurt. I felt my strength fading, my shield flickering. Leroy's fangs were an inch from my face, and Horace was offering no words of encouragement. Then I thought about my invisible locker in the duat. I wondered if other things could be put in there too. Large, evil things. I closed my hands around Leroy's throat and wedged my knee against his ribcage. Then I imagined an opening in the duat, in the air right above me. 13, 32, 33. I imagined my locker opening as wide as it could go. With my last bit of strength, I pushed Leroy straight up. He flew toward the ceiling, his eyes widening with surprise as he passed through an unseen rift and disappeared. "Where'd it go?" someone called. "Hey kid," another guy called. "You okay?" My energy shield was gone. I wanted to pass out, but I had to leave before the security guards came out of their shock and arrested me for moose fighting. I got to my feet and threw my sword at the ceiling. It disappeared into the duat. Then I wrapped the torn leather around my bleeding arm as best I could and ran for the gates. I reached our flight just as they were closing the door. Apparently, word of the Chicken Man incident hadn't spread quite yet. The gate agent gestured back toward the checkpoint as she took my ticket. "What's all the noise up there?" "A moose got through security," I said. "It's under control now." Before she could ask questions, I raced down the jetway. I collapsed into my seat across the aisle from Bass. Sadie, still in kite form, was pacing in the window next to me. Bass let out a huge sigh of relief. "Carter, you made it! But you're hurt. What happened?" I told her. Bass's eyes widened. "You put the set animal in your locker? Do you know how much strength it requires?" "Yeah," I said. "I was there." The flight attendant started making her announcements. Apparently the security incident hadn't affected our flight. The plane pushed back from the gate on time. I doubled forward in pain, and only then did Bass notice how bad my arm was. Her expression turned grim. "Hold still." She whispered something in Egyptian, and my eyes began to feel heavy. "You'll need sleep to heal that wound," she said. "But if Leroy comes back—" "Who?" "Nothing." Bass studied me as if seeing me for the first time. "That was extraordinarily brave, Carter. Facing the set monster, you have more tomcat in you than I realized." Thanks?" She smiled and touched my forehead. "We'll be in the air soon, my tomcat. Sleep." I couldn't really object. Exhaustion washed over me and I closed my eyes. Naturally, my soul decided to take a trip. I was in Ba form, circling above Phoenix. It was a brilliant winter morning. The cool desert air felt good under my wings. The city looked different in the daylight, a vast grid of beige and green squares dotted with palm trees and swimming pools. Stark mountains rose up here and there like chunks of the moon. The most prominent mountain was right below me, a long ridge with two distinct peaks. What had Set's minion called it on my first soul visit? Camelback Mountain. Its foothills were crowded with luxury homes, but the top was barren. Something caught my attention. A crevice between two large boulders and a shimmer of heat coming from deep within the mountain. Something that no human eye would have noticed. I folded my wings and dove toward the crevice. Hot air vented out with such force that I had to push my way through. About 50 feet down, the crevice opened up, and I found myself in a place that simply couldn't exist. The entire inside of the mountain had been hollowed out. In the middle of the cavern, a giant pyramid was under construction. The air rang with the sound of pickaxes. Hordes of demons cut blood-red limestone into blocks and hauled it to the middle of the cave, where more swarms of demons used ropes and ramps to hoist the blocks into place. The way my dad said the Giza pyramids were built, but the Giza pyramids had taken like 20 years each to complete. This pyramid was already halfway done. There was something odd about it too, and not just the blood-red color. When I looked at it, I felt a familiar tingle, as if the whole structure were humming with a tone. No, a voice I almost recognized. I spotted a smaller shape floating in the air above the pyramid, a reed barge like Uncle Almos's riverboat. On it stood two figures. One was a tall demon in leather armor. The other was a burly man in red combat fatigues. I circled closer, trying to stay in the shadows because I wasn't sure that I was really invisible. I landed on top of the mast. It was a tricky maneuver, but neither of the boat's occupants looked up. "How much longer?" asked the man in red. He had Set's voice, but he looked completely different than he had in my last vision. He wasn't a slimy black thing, and he wasn't on fire, except for the scary mixture of hatred and amusement burning in his eyes. He had a big, thick body like a linebacker's, with meaty hands and a brutish face. His short, bristly hair and trimmed goatee were as red as his combat fatigues. I'd never seen camouflage that color before. Maybe he was planning on hiding out in the volcano. Next to him, the demon bowed and scraped. It was the weird rooster-footed guy I'd seen before. He was at least 7 feet tall and scarecrow thin, with bird talons for feet. And unfortunately, this time I could see his face. It was almost too hideous to describe. You know those anatomy exhibits where they show dead bodies without skin? Imagine one of those faces alive, only with solid black eyes and fangs. "We're making excellent progress, Master," the demons promised. "We conjured 100 more demons today. With luck, we'll be done at sunset on your birthday." "That is unacceptable, Face of Horror," Set said calmly. The servant flinched. I guess his name was Face of Horror. I wondered how long it had taken his mom to think of that. "Bob? Nah. Sam? No. How about Face of Horror?" "I'm sorry." But, Master," Face stammered. I thought, "Do not think, demon. Our enemies are more resourceful than I imagined. They have temporarily disabled my favorite pet and are now speeding toward us. We must finish before they arrive. Sunrise on my birthday, Face of Horror. No later. It will be the dawn of my new kingdom. I will scour all life from this continent, and this pyramid shall stand as a monument to my power, the final and eternal tomb of Osiris." My heart almost stopped. I looked down at the pyramid again, and I realized why it felt so familiar. It had an energy to it. My father's energy. I can't explain how, but I knew his sarcophagus lay hidden somewhere inside that pyramid. Set smiled cruelly, as if he would be just as happy to have Face obey him or to rip Face to pieces. "You understand my order?" "Yes, Lord." Face of Horror shifted his bird feet as if building up his courage. "But may I ask, Lord, why stop there?" Set's nostrils flared. "You are one sentence away from destruction, Face of Horror. Choose your next words carefully." The demon ran his black tongue across his teeth. "Well, my lord, is the annihilation of only one god worthy of your glorious self? What if we could create even more chaos energy to feed your pyramids for all time and make you the eternal lord of all worlds?" A hungry light danced in Set's eyes. "Lord of all worlds. That has a nice ring to it. And how would you accomplish this, puny demon?" "Oh, not I, my lord. I am an insignificant worm, but if we were to capture the others, Nephthys." Set kicked Face in the chest, and the demon collapsed, wheezing. I told you never to speak her name. Yes, master, Face panted. Sorry, master. But if we were to capture her and the others, think on the power you could consume. With the right plan. Set began nodding, warming to the idea. I think it's time we put Almost Kane to use. I tensed. Was Almost here? Brilliant, master. A brilliant plan. Yes, I'm glad I thought of it. Soon, face of horror, very soon, Horace, Iris, and my treacherous wife will bow at my feet, and Almost will help. We'll have a nice little family reunion. Set looked up, straight at me, as if he'd known I was there all along, and gave me that rip-you-to-pieces smile. Isn't that right, boy? I wanted to spread my wings and fly. I had to get out of the cavern and warn Sadie, but my wings wouldn't work. I sat there paralyzed as Set reached out to grab me. Let me see if we have enough time for the chapter 23. We don't have enough time for chapter 23. That's like... That's 2 pages away from being 20 pages long. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you did. And I will see you guys next time on my next video. Peace out!